host, Denise Calloway. Welcome to this weekend's edition of Connect MKE, and thanks for joining us this morning. The holidays can be the most wonderful time of the year, and they can also be the most stressful. Feeling the pressure to make the holidays perfect and everyone happy creates stress and anxiety. There is hope for a less stressful holiday, and we've asked an expert to help us figure it out. Dr. Kristin Miles is an inpatient psychologist at Rogers Behavioral Health in Oconomowoc. Thanks for being with us again.
Thank you.
How do we manage to get ourselves so stressed out at what is supposed to be the happiest time of the year?
Absolutely. We tend to focus so much on the traditions and the shoulds of the year. We define our holidays based on what either has been passed down to us from year after year after year, or from what you see in social media, in movies, and that puts way too much pressure on us. We can't be perfect, and we shouldn't be perfect, because that takes away from the holiday. I think the people who do most of the planning end up being the individuals who have the giant checklist and are trying to hit every aspect of it for every person that they're going to come in contact with. And that person usually ends up with the least joy through the holiday. And so we want to minimize that experience.
When do we know that we're at that point and we need to step back a little bit?
I think when you're feeling so much stress about the fact that you need to make the perfect cookies and have the perfect meal and make sure there's the right number of presents and they're beautiful, and that stress becomes so overwhelming that either you freeze and you feel like you can't do anything, or you end up trying to do absolutely everything and kind of become that irritable person that when the person asks for one more thing, you might snap at them. And it's not because they asked for that one more thing. It's because you already have too many things on your plate. So paying attention to those signs or symptoms and finding that, the things that everyone says are joyful, the music, the lights, all of the engagements that we have end up becoming just a chore and you dread doing it. That should be a sign to you that you got to make some sort of change.
And is that also a good time to say, let me ask for some help? If this is what people want for the holiday, I can't do it all. Other people need to pitch in.
Absolutely. I think that's an important point. As I was mentioning, we often define what is required of a holiday by what other people say, what's been done for years, what the movies and television tell us to do. But have we stopped to ask the people in our lives if those are the things they actually want to do? And what value do they have within this holiday? And maybe shifting some of our traditions and our experiences based on what everyone who is going to be a part of it wants to do, and then asking for that help. So who can pitch in where? And honestly, like thinking back to some of my childhood experiences, some of my most favorite memories were when I went to go help my grandma set up for the holiday. And so include children in on that, include them in the part of making and creating the day. One person doesn't have to be in charge of everything, and it doesn't all have to be in one day. So really thinking through what makes this tradition, what makes this holiday actually enjoyable to you and the people you're with.
One of the things that's part of the holidays, in addition to all the things and all the food, is family and friends. But that can also be a bit overwhelming to have everyone together. How do we manage having so many people together in one place, especially when there can be a little tension sometimes between people?
Absolutely. So that can really be a challenge. I encourage people to think ahead of time. Who are your quote unquote safe people, the people that you're going to be most comfortable with, and try to be as close to them proximity wise as you can. So if you need an out, that's a person who can help you with that. Giving yourself that opportunity to take a break from a conversation, walk away from one that maybe isn't the most beneficial for you to be a part of, and setting some appropriate boundaries. So if there's certain topics that just are not things you want to talk about with a large group or during the holidays, even allowing yourself to not have that conversation, maybe even pre-planning ways to kind of end or move that conversation on in another direction in a way that isn't startling to people. So it might be things like, that's a really interesting question, and I want some time to think about that before I answer. And then moving to another topic so that you're not offending someone necessarily, but you also aren't putting yourself in a really difficult position.
Loss at this time of the year can be really difficult for people who are missing loved ones who are absent for a variety of different reasons. How can we help people who are experiencing loss at this time?
Mm-hmm. I think checking in with them about how they're doing and what they want in that moment, or even for the holiday. Do they want something to help with the memory of that person? Do they want to think back to the positive holidays they had with that person there and maybe that funny moment everybody remembers? Or would they prefer that it be something more subtle, just maybe a picture in the corner, maybe a candle lit for them that is just a reminder of they're still part of this because they're part of you? Or do we want to make a bigger deal with it because the whole family would benefit from remembering those things together? Checking in on your people who have maybe their closest supporters that they have lost in the last year to make sure that they still are getting what they need, despite not having that person physically present with them.
And very quickly, what's one piece of advice that you would give us for protecting our mental health during this time of year?
I think being kind to yourself, remembering what you actually used to enjoy or maybe still do about the holiday, and making sure you build that in. So even setting aside some time for yourself so that you can have that, even if it's just a tiny thing, that thing that you enjoy that gets you away from the pressures for a little bit. And take those moments to find the positives, find the things that you're grateful for. If you take those moments and pay attention to them, you'll start to see more and more of them. So really be kind to yourself throughout all of this.
Good advice as always. Thank you for being with us again, Dr. Miles.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.